Some of you know that they are celebrating, some people somewhere are celebrating Martin Luther King Day. I don't know if this is his birthday. It can't be a birthday because he did. Or sometimes it's a holiday for Martin Luther King today. One of those. And so people are taking off from work. The post office and banks are closed. And I think all government businesses are closed today in celebration of Martin Luther King. Is this Martin Luther King birthday or a holiday? You don't know either? Yeah, Chris doesn't know either. But it's something to do with Martin Luther King, right? And for those who don't know who he was, Martin Luther King was one of the organizers or founder of the so-called civil rights movement way back yonder. And where some blacks got together and they said, we're fed up. We don't want this anymore. We fed up. We want to get into the white man's world. We want to get into their businesses. We want to rule. We want to live in the white communities. We want what the white man got. We want to end Jim Crow or something like that. Whereas Jim Crow was about blacks not being a part of the Democratic Party. They didn't tell you that. But anyway, so they had this quote-unquote civil rights movement. We want the right to vote. We're tired of being butlers and housekeepers. And so they started to the civil rights movement, which I say is one of the worst things that has ever happened to black folks in America. It should have never happened. Had not the so-called civil rights movement happened, there would be more black men and women married and raising their own children. There would be more black men and women with businesses. There would be buy land and property to either pass on to their own children or be an example for. And that the children would have done the same thing. There would be no such idea as racism. That word would not exist had not the so-called civil rights movement happened. Because black folks would be treating all people the way that they would like to be treated. Had not this phony idea of the civil rights movement happened, there would be no outward discrimination against white folks today. Because supposedly, smoke on it, the so-called civil rights movement was about ending all that, right? The black folks said that they were mad. They were being discriminated against based on color. That's what it's supposed to have been about. And I got proof coming up for you. But instead, now the blacks are discriminated against the whites openly with no problem. And people are afraid to even mention it. Even the whites are afraid to mention it. Not all, but most. Not all. I've noticed this morning, which I've seen glimpses of lately anyway, even the conservative white men and women are catering to the blacks because they too are afraid. They're catering. But it's just not pointed out that the white conservative men and women are catering to them. It is pointed out that liberals are doing it, but it's not being brought to the forefront. I saw it this morning like 90 going north. even the white conservatives, and not all of them, of course, are catering to the blacks. And the more they do it, the more the blacks blame. Had that not been a so-called civil rights movement, that would not be happening today in America. Had the civil rights movement not happened, black folks would not be identifying themselves as African Americans. They would be Americans. They would be Americans. Had not the so-called civil rights movement happened, we will have one nation under God, loud and clear in America today. Really, it'll be amazing. But when the civil rights movement happened, and I know now that I didn't know then, when I was younger, that this socialist communist idea for America has been going on for a long time. It's been in the making for a long time. And that movement helped to usher it in even more so. And I got proof. And they are playing this speech today, one of the speeches of Martin Luther King. And that speech was, I have a dream. And in that speech, he talks about that one day, black folks would be judged by the contents of character and not color of skin. Black people are more judged by the color of skin today than any other time in history. Really. Because that's what it's all about. Black this and black that and black this. The first black this, the first black that. It's all about that. The white person or white people discriminate against the black people. To the point that the blacks are trying to bring on board the Hispanics and the Asians and the Japanese, and everybody else. It's sad. So if Dr. King was serious about the contents of character, and he could have been, I'm not ruling that out. It did not work. The last thing that is prevalent in black folks, not all, but most, is contents of character. And they're being judged by the color because of how they're acting, because of their anger, because of begging and blaming and robbing and stealing and killing and getting into these perceived position of power based on color, not because they're earning it. Now, you can pretend that it's not like that. It's totally up to you. But we all know it's right in front of our face. Our faces. But you can close your eyes and pretend all is well. Like you do with yourself. You pretend all is well when inside you have fear, you have doubt, you're emotional, you're up and down in your emotions. You have no peace of mind. Critical race theory and all, teaching that to the school. Your children in these public schools, and maybe even private schools now, I wouldn't be surprised, since the white churches and others are also catering to the blacks. Someone told me at church yesterday that his 4-year-old niece or something like that is being told that something like, I don't have it exactly, but this niece, white, has to get up and say that she's bad because she's white. And the parents let that happen. Is that the dream that Martin Luther King Jr. had? Where did the dream go wrong? it can still change, but it has to take one person at a time within themselves. You can't change it by trying to change the world. You change it by changing the heart from anger to love, from hate to love. Anger is hatred. You change the heart, you change the world. You don't change the heart, the government can't change the world. The government, if it's functioning in the way that we, the people, want it to, it can protect us in a physical way, right? But it cannot change the world. You change the world by changing the heart from hate to love. And once your heart is changed, you can't even hate your enemy because you see where they're coming from. So you pray for your enemy. That's not happening, for the most part, in America. So it's crazy. This is from Breitbart. Well, maybe I'll wait until I take this break, and then I'll give you that. But, folks, it starts with you. Do what you want, right? But it starts with you. It ain't out there. It ain't over yonder. It's in you. You got to take back your life. You got to become your own man. And then all the inner conflict, because it's amazing what will be revealed to you. And when it's revealed to you, it will be taken away from you, and life will be given unto you.